Hello, everybody. We're a very, shall I say, small band of helpers today, but thank you for coming. Today, we don't have Michael Metcalf, who is our chair, so at this point, I have to defer to our clerks, and our clerks are going to sort out who's going to be chair for the meeting today. So over to you, Simon and Joe.
Thanks, Mary. So don't look so worried. So, yeah, we just draw names out of a hat. No, so
I propose Kath Perry.
Thank you very much. So we just need somebody to propose a member, and thankfully, Councillor Atkins has proposed Councillor Perry. Are you happy to take the chair for us? Is everybody happy with that? Okay, unanimous. So,
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you very much for being here this afternoon on this lovely sunny day outside. Second item on the agenda is apologies, please.
Thank you, Chair. We have had some apologies in. They are from Michael Metcalf, Lauren Nicholson Ward, Maddie Bell, Vicky Priestley, Councillor Northcott, Councillor Wilcox, Councillor Snape, Lisa Gretton, and finally Vicky Wayman. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those. Any from the floor? Anybody got any apologies from anyone? No? Okay, thank you. Third item on the agenda is to welcome to those present. I've just mentioned thank you very much for being here, but I would like, if you don't mind, just to go around the table with your names so that I know who I'm actually speaking to. That would be a good idea. I know I've got Mary sitting next to me.
Yes. Thank you. I'm Hifsa Harun Iqbal.
Sorry?
Hifsa Harun Iqbal.
Right, you've got it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
This is new. This is
Yes,
our
thank you.
first meeting.
Yeah.
And Gabby Oldfield.
Gabby, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Zoe Cavallo.
Zoe,
Jacqueline Manning.
thank you, Jack. Thank you.
Linda Goodwin.
Thank you. And I know Philip on the end.
Yeah, Ted Bailey.
Thank you very much indeed. That just helps make life a little bit easier for us all. Thank you. Fourth item on the agenda is update on the membership, and that's over to you. Oh, or to you. Is it to you or to you, Mary?
Well, I know Simon's been trying very hard, and Joe, to recruit members, but today we do have Hifsa. This is her first meeting, so yes. Lovely to see you. Hifsa was actually on Sacre 12, 14 years ago.
Thanks, Mary.
And actually was vice chair at that point, so she's very used to these meetings. But I will see if Simon or Joe has an update on membership.
okay, I think it's just to say that Joe's been working incredibly hard to try and get new members, and we have a few people whose terms have come to an end, so we've been in touch to try and encourage them to come back. In some cases, we've had some responses, in some we haven't. So we are still working, but at the moment there aren't any new members to note, but obviously we'll keep you updated in the next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say, I noticed Judy Wyman is on the list. She will no longer be coming to these meetings.
Thank you very much for that. And that's it on membership, I take it? Yes, thank you. Anybody else got anything on membership to say? No? Thank you. Declarations of any other business from anyone? None? Okay, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 6, which is the minutes of the previous meeting, which was held on the 7th of February. Gosh, that seems a long time ago. 2024, and including matters arising. Have you all seen the minutes of the last meeting? I'll take it you have. Anyone got any matters arising from them or are you all happy to agree them? Yes, okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much. Agenda item 8 is NASCRA update report of the Director for Children and Families.
I think there's a number
sorry,
7.
I've got missed one out. I'm sorry. The upkeep, sorry. An update on key issues report of the Director for Children and Families. Thank you.
Okay, so everybody, can I just say, it's been a very, very busy time since I was with you last in February. I have put together quite an extensive report starting on page 12 of your papers. The first issue is the West Hill Legacy Project, and this is a project where we go into schools, support children with workshops on the Engage, Explore, Reflect agreed syllabus titles. And it is a pleasure today to have HIFSA with me, because what has been happening is, due to the fact that Entrust have been unable to facilitate the workshops due to the death of the person who used to carry out the workshops, HIFSA has very kindly stepped in, and Entrust have asked that SACRE just directly sort that out rather than going through the Entrust people first. And of course that does mean therefore that we have a little bit more money to play with, because we're no longer paying interest for the admin fees with regard to that. So as you can see from the list on page 12, we have had a variety of workshops over the autumn and the spring, and I'd perhaps ask HIFSA, she'd like to say a few words about the workshops and the impact that she feels. So if you press the button.
Okay, thank you. Well, as you can see, we've had a lot of requests from schools in Staffordshire, and certainly impact-wise, when I leave, they want to know if I can come back again. So I think for me, that's been one of the biggest impacts. The children and the teachers, I think, have really valued the opportunity to have somebody there who can answer the questions that the teachers can't always answer. So I think the fact that somebody who is Muslim is going in, somebody who starts off by telling the school about myself, where I grew up, where I went to school, bringing out all of the commonalities, which are the important aspects for me, I think has made a big difference to their understanding, and hopefully further down the line allows them to challenge some of the things that I know they are going to be coming across as they're getting older, and particularly on social media as well.
As you can see on page 13, we have got a flavour of some of the comments with regard to the evaluations after HIFSA has left. And I would like to add as well that we are doing Christianity workshops with Sam Phillips and Maddie Bell, and they are also helping schools understand Christianity. HIFSA's helping them to understand what it means to be a Muslim, and we're making comparisons in those workshops. We already have some dates ready for the autumn term, and we're working on that together. HIFSA and I meet regularly just to make sure that we understand where we're coming from, you know, from the SACRE point of view, and we're able to adjust the workshops accordingly, dependent on what the needs of the school are. I tend to visit the schools first, or have a conversation with them, then HIFSA has a conversation, and so they are saying it's a really good combination, it meets their needs. I was in Alton First School in Stone on Monday after HIFSA had left the workshop. She'd been there all day, and the children were buzzing. They were absolutely, you know, the knowledge they had was phenomenal compared to what they didn't have at the start. And the same, they had Christianity workshops that day as well. So I think this is going forward, this is actually going to be much more effective than it's been in the past. So I just want to say thanks to HIFSA for just keeping at it, because it's not easy. You know, a whole day of workshops is hard work at times, and I thank you for that, HIFSA. General duties, you can see on page 14 that I have been working with people called ARIAC, the Association of Religious Education Inspectors, and ALRE, the Association of University Lecturers, to help and support them with RE, and I also received support as well from them. It was a privilege on, was it only last Friday, Thursday and Friday, to attend a conference in Birmingham University, where I was one of the guest speakers to talk about difference, diversity, inclusion, equity, equality on behalf of our Sacre. So, yes, so that was lovely. It was great. So we enjoyed that. Then I've also been supporting schools as well, mostly through something called NATRE, the National Association of Teachers in Religious Education, and I've been supporting the leaders of that to ensure that any information they pass on with regard to any religions or worldviews within schools is actually correct, and that, you know, schools from those meetings, usually online, they receive a lot of support and they receive a lot of knowledge, and it increases their skills as well. I've also been going into some schools to support them face-to-face, as well as running webinars, and that's been a joy, because people are so enthusiastic, they so want to learn. And one of the most successful parts has been where I have been able to support governors and trustees with increasing their knowledge with regard to religious education, worldviews, and difference and diversity. You're welcome. Michael and I also attended the NASACA conference, which is the National Sacre Conference. We have a separate area for that. And then I've also been carrying out the work for the Culham St Gabriel charity, where they've given us a grant, a Sacre grant, to carry out this work on equality and diversity. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then we also have, I've been on a meeting with the NAHT, the National Association of Head Teachers, because they've started to think about EDI aspects in great detail, and now they are having representatives for each area of the country. So I will be helping the West Midlands representative if they so require it. So I've had a meeting with them. And then on page 16, of course, Ofsted have been very busy. They've put out together a subject report, another one on religious education and religious studies. And the main findings are that where the local authority agreed syllabus isn't good enough, then obviously teaching of religious education isn't good enough. I think people find that ours here in Staffordshire meets the brief. It's not perfect, but it's certainly better than many out there. Then there, as a follow-up to last meeting, where we talked about blasphemy in schools, if you remember, there was a big report about how teachers within schools, if they say the wrong words or the wrong phrases when teaching religious education, then they are almost sacked from their roles, or they are vilified within the community. We looked at that last time, but this meeting, I'm just bringing your attention to another report about protecting our democracy from coercion. And I've given you the executive summary of that, which is quite similar to the blasphemy in schools. It's just trying to clarify the fact that where schools or public bodies are not accepting violence or mass disruption because one person has said something not quite in line with how it should be said, it's more of a training for that person rather than a mass demonstration against the school or against the organisation. So I've put together there for you an executive summary on that. And the government's response. Well, of course, the government's response is going to be delayed slightly because we don't know what government we have. So, and that's basically my role since February. It has been fast, furious, and hectic.
Thank you very much, Mary, for that. You've exhausted me. Can I just say thank you to Hifter as well for the work that you've been doing in schools, and may it continue. Thank you. But Mary, you always come up trumps with anything like this. You work really hard at this. So thank you very much. I'm sure I can say on behalf of everybody here, many thanks to you for all the work that you do. Thank you. Has anyone got any questions of Mary at this point, please? Thank you. Just before you come in, sorry about this. Sorry. Can I just say thank you to the lady that's just... Yes. Sorry. Sam. That's lovely. I didn't know your name, Sam. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wondered, are there any spaces left on the West Hill, the West Hill project?
Absolutely.
And how would schools apply if they want to? Because I'm a governor of 3 schools, so I'm just thinking, how would they apply for
All right,
it?
so what happens is, through the governor information packs, I say to them, we have spaces available for workshops in your schools. Contact me on this email address and we will arrange those. And I did that for the last governor information pack and the one before it. And what has happened is we've had a flurry of requests, which is much, much better than just trying our best to contact the school, see if it might suit their needs. So yes, schools are coming forward. Thank you for that.
Have we got any further questions for Mary? Yes, thank you.
Sorry, just one thing to clarify. In your report, when you mentioned the attack, the racial attack in April, is that the one that I discussed with you? Because in that case, I think it's worth noting it was actually 2 sisters. It wasn't a single one. It was over a period of 2 days.
Yeah.
And there were 2 sisters who were racially attacked. I think it's worthwhile noting that.
I supported a school that had a racial attack against one child in the family, and then I got another phone call to say the sister had also been attacked. Okay, yeah, so it was 2 children. It was in a local school not too far from here, and it was a very sorry case, but we tried together, Hifsa and I spoke to the person concerned face to face, and then I spoke over the telephone as well, and I can't say that things have improved tremendously, but at least they were listened to, and the police were involved.
Yeah, I think one of the girls, if not 2 of them, were actually expelled, from what I can remember. And I think they're just waiting to hear whether the police are going to be pressing charges as well, because it was a very serious attack.
Sad to hear that, isn't it? It is very sad. Anybody got any more questions at all for Mary? No? Well, can I say, Mary, once again, thank you very much indeed, and thank you to you too for the work that you've done and for that report. Thank you very much. Moving on then, ladies and gentlemen, to agenda item 8, the NASCA update, report of the Director for Children and Families, please. Thank you.
Anybody interested on going on to the NASCA website, you will see on page 27, I've given you all the login details so that you can keep up to date. And the most important thing to report is that Michael and I attended the conference in York together in May. That was a lovely opportunity to network with other people from their local sacres. And it was a pleasure to speak about our sacre actually and how much we do, and to give advice in almost a few senses to other sacres who are not doing as much as us, although when I spoke to a few other people, they're doing much, much more. But they do that with a full-time RE advisor who is paid full-time. So the fact that we do all this, and currently it's 1 day a month that I am paid to carry out this work. So I think we're pretty much up there with all the other sacres. In this conference in particular, Michael asked me to bring your attention to the fact that there is a campaign called Ready for Work campaign, the RE Think RE Work campaign, by Lord Karen Billy Moria. And that is a campaign to say to people out there that are offering jobs to people, you know, to youngsters, that actually they value religious education as a part and parcel of a good qualification to enable them to be a very good representative of the community in the workplace. Because by learning about religious education, they're not just learning about a faith or another faith, they're actually learning about worldviews, they're learning about how to be together, how to work together, how to respect each other, and they also you know, embody the British values that we have in our agreed syllabus. So there is a campaign. If you want to look at the call to action, I've put all the details on page 28. Michael and I, as a result of this, we were offered then additional webinars to attend, which we are doing. One of them, again, is how SACRES can support high-quality religious education, quality collective worship. So these are going to be continuing throughout the year, and Michael and I are given the opportunity to attend those free, which is good news. So thank you very much for sponsoring me to go to the conference with Michael. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Again, sounds exciting that you sort of met people that are doing as well as us, and some a little bit better, but some not as good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mary, please, on this one? I think everybody's happy, Mary, with that report. Thank you very much indeed. Which moves us on then to agenda item 9. I think we've got a presentation now, I believe, Cullen and St Gabriel presentation.
Yeah.
Report of the Director for Children and Families. Thank you.
All the background information before I do some of the presentation. We're not going to do it all. I'm just going to give you a flavour of it. Is on page 29. It just explains how I applied for the grant on behalf of our SACRE, which involved 2 interviews, 3 20,000-word essays, and then asked for a redraft of all the information, but we did it. Well done. And as a result, we received £6,500 for me to carry out work on EDI within schools. So that means workshops are free. Now, that is not the West Hill workshops. That's not the workshops on Islam or Christianity. These are workshops on equality, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And what we normally say is if they've had a workshop from HIFSA or from Alison with the Christianity, that it might be that it would be a good idea then for the leaders to have a workshop. And that's worked quite well, actually, because they don't have to pay. It's all free because you're paying. So we're going to just have a little look. Are you all right if I still remain seated? Are you okay with that? Yeah. Okay. So the way that we work through this is with schools is to say that we want to connect religious education with equality, equity, diversity and inclusion. And this is training for leaders, because teachers are saying within schools they are trying and striving to do these things, but they're not being held to account. And the reason they're not being held to account is because trustees and governors don't always know what it means to hold the school to account with regard to things like EDI. So I'm going to use EDI instead of equality, diversity and inclusion, just to help with that. Right, here we go. So when we talk about this with the governors and the trustees and the RE leads, they join as well, and the head teachers and the principals. When we talk about this with them, we explain, and HIFSA has been with me on a couple of occasions, that we handle sensitive information, that we're working in a safe space. They can actually show, if they want to, that they don't know a lot about it. They can actually say words that they might be afraid to say in another context. It's all right, because this is all about educating people and empowering people. And through this, we can perhaps look at a controversial situation and turn it around and make it into a learning opportunity for leaders. This enables everybody then to have a positive encounter, and it engages people in dialogue about EDI aspects and not aggressive debate, because a lot of people, when they've been out in the community, it's actually turned into an aggressive debate, not just dialogue. So this gives everybody the opportunity to have some dialogue. So I am able, through the governor information packs and their agendas, which I write, I'm able to engage with over 500 schools and able to engage with 44 local authorities as well. This is, such a privilege for me to be able to work with all these schools. Many of the meetings are academy meetings, so many of them are maintained school meetings, and then I'm given access to all the clerks or governance professionals as well, who actually help and support meetings, such as Joe and Simon here, and they ensure that through effective agendas, the EDI is actually brought to the attention of the trustees and the leaders. When I asked people through the Government Information Pack if they wanted to have this, training specifically for them, so far we had 12 schools that were interested, which is, just a start. This is a picture of the Government Information Packs. These are the packs, right? And I could see you nodding there. 23,000 words usually, aren't they? All about compliance within schools, and that's just for the term. They are written 3 times a year, and they're written for primary schools and secondary schools in Staffordshire, and then we also do the national ones. When I say we, I mean I, because nobody else writes this. We are trying to advertise for somebody to be able to do this work, and I am meeting with somebody next Monday because I need to start handing this over because my age profile is not quite as young as the rest of the workforce, put it like that. So, through the Government Information Packs, they're given information on EDI, on religious education, religious studies, alongside information on safeguarding, on health and safety, all types of things. So it's a natural progression, if you like, about talking about these things. It's not just something special and different. And then I also, for all of these schools, write their suggested agendas, which they don't have to stick to. And within the suggested agendas, I encourage them under the teaching and learning section, which all schools have, don't they, when they have their board meetings, they all have a section on that. I encourage them to always look at RE, religious education, religious studies, and I give them my email address. I talk about you as Sacre, I talk about free training, and so on. And this is where schools then want to engage with us. So we wait to see if anybody wants to engage. And then I start getting the email saying, is it true? Is it free? We would like that. The word free does engage a lot of people.
Yeah, I would imagine it does.
And then, as I said, Newman University heard about the project that we're doing, and that's where I was invited last week to speak about this as well. I'm going to say what the impact was now, before I just show you some of the slides. What to do at the very beginning of the meeting is I ask people to think carefully about what knowledge they have already about EDI aspects. And they just give themselves, on a scale of 1 to 5, they just give themselves a number. It's very crude, but it seems to work. So they give themselves perhaps a 2 at the beginning, so I don't know an awful lot. And then at the end, I ask them to score themselves again. And many of them say they now feel they're 4 or 5, but want to explore this further. So you can see 95% the training had moved their thinking on, and that is quite a high percentage. The impact, people are saying, these were some words that I've had from the evaluations, because they all receive an evaluation, just as they receive an evaluation from all the other workshops. They say they're not afraid now to look at EDI aspects, because they were before, because they didn't know which words to use. They realised they were doing this in school. Quite a lot of it is being taught, but it's not explicit. It's wrapped up in other areas. So now they feel confident that they are covering many of these things. And then I work on the RE aspect as well and say, but you know, if you've got effective RE and if you follow our agreed syllabus, then you will actually be covering all the EDI aspects that you need to cover. And then they all, a bit of a sigh of relief. Hey, we're doing all right with our RE. So what I try to do is give them a can-do attitude, because EDI sounds a little bit outside the realms of some people. You know, some people are frightened by the words. People said it deepened their understanding, and they saw sustained improvements across the school, especially for those pupils with special education needs, because it made them realise inclusion was paramount. But inclusion, it's not just about those people of colour or people of a different religion. Inclusion means everybody and anybody, but addressing their needs. Then I asked them to think about this. How did they feel before the training? And we call this the growth mindset. And they say, well, I used to think like this. Now after the training, I think like this. So this is about changing the mindset of leaders, because they're the ones that are holding others to account for EDI, but they don't know how to hold to account if they have no knowledge themselves, or perceived no knowledge. But when we talk through the training, they say, oh, I know that. So their expression, if you like, of holding to account becomes easier. So we're there, as a summary, we're there to educate the leaders, we're there to empower them. Then they are in turn asked to monitor what happens in school with regard to EDI, and to challenge if there is no EDI apparent within the school curriculum or school policies, and then to celebrate all of those things that are going well, because we're so good at saying to people, you're not doing this well enough, you need to work harder, you need to be better at it. We need to celebrate when things are going well. So empowerment is the main thing. Now, Joe, this will be where we'll do the link after. Okay, so I'll go back to the slide. That's your link there for the Sacre website. So I talk about you. I talk about the great job that you do. There are a few people missing, but I am talking about them too. And these are the aims, the introductions we start with about what it is that they will learn through engaging with this project. I talk about the law. And this is some of the factors that they are shocked by, that if they don't actually carry out these things, their school is not a legal school. It's not a legal identity, if you like. They don't have their website up to date. It is not legal, and they have to obey the law. So we talk about the law within the schools. I talk about safeguarding, and what if they didn't obey the law with regard to safeguarding? Oh my God, we'd be closed down. I said, well, EDI is equally important. And then I talk a little bit more about all the parts of the Equality Act and so on. I just give them a flavour of this, so they get an opportunity to discuss it and talk about it. But I do say they have to abide by the law. Some people say that with regard to things like Equality Act and protected characteristics, that they don't address all of them because some of them make them feel uncomfortable. Well, of course, you can't do that. You can't just pick and choose, can you, which of the protected characteristics your school is going to stand up for, and so on. Then I talk about policies within school, the public sector equality duty, and so on. And what I'm trying to say to them is part and parcel of their school, the way they act, the way they talk to each other, it is all encompassing within EDI. It's from the words they use, the interaction they have with each other. And then I change it to, and there's the law regarding religious education, religious studies. So we've talked about EDI laws, but there are these laws too, and you have to adhere to these laws. This is where some of the high schools say, no, we don't have to do this. We only have to do GCSE and A-level. And of course, that is not true. So we have to talk that through with them. These can be sticky points for them. I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable, so we're just explaining what the facts are. If I'm doing it for a specific school, so for instance on Monday I'm in a school in Rugeley, then this part is where I go into their school website and explain to them how they're doing this well, or where they could do it perhaps a little bit better. So we talk about, as governors, what their functions are, the core functions of being a governor or a trustee or what have you. This is their job description, this is the law, this is what they must do. It's not a pick and mix. And the second one there is to hold the head teacher to account. Well, if they're not holding anybody to account for EDI, then they're not carrying out their core functions. And all of this is clarified in a guide that's produced by the DFE that only was updated only a few months ago. And it's same for academies. There is Academy Trust handbooks. The other one was for maintained schools. And there's the Academy Guide as well. And it reiterates the same things. It talks about the school, we talk about the school vision, and does the school vision have any aspects within it to do with EDI? And then I say, and remember, good effective RE is you covering EDI. So if you brush up on your RE and your religious studies, you're going to cover these things well. So we talk about the vision for the school, and if I'm in a school doing it face-to-face rather than online, because Hifs and I have set up Zoom, haven't we? So we can have hundreds on there if we wish. So we can do it online, but online was to begin with, was a good idea. We did it through Eventbrite, where they book tickets and everything. But now I'm finding they actually want it face-to-face because they want it tailor-made to their school and their website. So we talk about the school vision, we talk about are there any aspects to do with EDI in their school vision. We talk about culture and values and ethos and how this is embraced in their school. We talk about the code of conduct, which we have a code of conduct, but do we actually act according to our code of conduct, or is it just a piece of paper? We talk about the Nolan principles of public life. So I'm talking county council language now, aren't I? And the government language. The Nolan principles of public life. That's a bit of a shock at the moment, isn't it? Yeah. So I say, what about reviewing some of these things? What about reviewing your practices against your code? Because the code of conduct is actually EDI, encompassed in all of it. So they say, oh yeah, we'll do that in our next meeting. And then I talk about the agreed syllabus and how this supports. I know it's a bit small, you can't see it, but this is just from the actual agreed syllabus about the role of RE within schools. And then the light bulb moments start to come on and they say, oh, but this is our vision for our school. And I say, yes, but RE is not an add-on. It's just part and parcel of what you do. We're just trying to make it a little bit more explicit. So we talk about the agreed syllabus. We talk about how it includes equity, equality, diversity and inclusion. And we talk about the words explore, engage, reflect, how the pupils are, encouraged to explore life, to engage with it, and then reflect how it makes them feel. And that can be all done through religious education and religious studies. Then we go on to a little bit more about the explore, engage, and reflect aspects. And you can see I've got our sacre there. I'm just fighting for us here. We talk about, Article 14 of the freedom of thought, belief and religion, and how all pupils are, they have the right to speak about themselves. They may not use the right language in our terms. They might not use the right culture, if you like. They might be using incorrect terminology, but that's our job. These children don't come to school ready-made. We are there to support them. So we talk a lot about culture, and then we talked about in the ideal world what EDI looks like for schools and where are they on this continuum. Do they talk about these things? Is it included in policies? Are the words ever made explicit? Do you ever say the word diversity without thinking, oh, will somebody think I'm thinking the wrong thing? We talk about culture. What is that? What does that mean to them? What's cultural awareness? So we start to explore these words. We give them definitions. What does culture mean? So they all go away with this presentation so that they can look at it in a little bit more detail. We talked about cultural capital, what the child brings to school to begin with, and how we can enhance that little backpack of knowledge and information that they bring to school, and how we can engage with the children from their point of view to begin with, then we add things on. And of course, all of that's to do with EDI, and that's the golden thread that runs through the school. We talk about celebrating children within the classroom for all that they can do, even if it's only a little bit. We celebrate, and then we engage with them more, and we try and make sure that they have the opportunity to learn more, do more, and be more. Then a lot of my governors say, but we're so bound up with driving the minibus, we haven't got time for this. Or they say, but we're gardening on a Friday, and I hear readers in year one. So we talk then about what strategic governance actually is as opposed to operational governance. And then we talk about what that really looks like, and then there's a bit of a horror. We don't do any of that. Now, there are many schools that say, oh, Mary, we do this. Oh, we're thrilled, which is good, isn't it? So then I talk a bit more about religious education, and I ask, is it in your action plans? Is it ever mentioned, ever, in your school development plan, and so on? Church schools, yes. Community schools, they don't see it as so important for them, but yet it is the same continuum. It should be as important. Then we talk about equality and equity and the difference between those. They get a little confused on this one, but when I show them the next slide, one is equality and one is equity. One of them is where you treat everybody the same, and equity is where you treat everybody according to their need. So some people may need more than others. And this is, I just think this is a wonderful illustration of that, isn't it? The standing on the boxes just to watch them. It should be football now, shouldn't it? I should have got into the theme there. Then we talk about what's diversity, what does it mean to them, is it any of these things? Work opportunities, dignity at work, it's all of that. And how we diversify the curriculum. Head teachers often talk about we're diversifying the curriculum, but nobody seems to unpack those words. We have a rich and diverse curriculum, but governors and trustees, I don't know actually what that really means. So we explore that. And this is the quote that most people say has the most impact on them. Diversity is being invited to the party, but inclusion is being asked to dance. And for many of them, that's the one that puts the hairs on there. And they say, we use that in class. I get emails after say, I used that in class for my year 6, and ask them what do they think it means. So there are high moments and low moments. Inclusion starts with I, so then I show them a YouTube video about people, what does it mean to be included, all sorts of people. Then we talk about what is inclusion really. So we have discussions, and then we talk about the difference between diversity and inclusion, which is what we've just touched on, about the deliberate act of welcoming diversity. And so it's about feeling safe within your own community and being able to say what you are not sure about without somebody jumping down your throat saying you're using the wrong words. You have to have a safe space for that, because we're all learning about these things. And then I talk about what can you do in your governor role to actually promote EDI. Where are you now with that? Where do you want to be and how are you going to get there? And about how you can do that through policies. I mean, this is like the boring bit, but this is the bit they're used to now. They say, oh, we know what this bit is, all about policies. And then to talk about the different policies they need to have in school. And they go, careers, what's that to do with EDI? You see, and I say, think about it, think more carefully. Oh, yes, it's about thinking, isn't it? Making it more explicit. Pupil premium, that special grant that there is available for those pupils who are less fortunate than others. I talk about safeguarding a lot, teaching and learning, and this is where, the head teachers come in and say, oh yes, well, we're going to tell you all about what we do now. And then we talk about things like unconscious bias and racism, so I give them a little bit of, oh great, I know what that means, and then we go into the bits that they are worried about. And this is the bit, isn't it, Hifsa, that worries them more than anything, is the unconscious bias. And am I racist if I say this word? And it takes a lot of guts for them sometimes to speak up and say, I don't understand it when people say this. I keep nodding, and it opens up the opportunity for them to speak about things they have never, ever spoken about before. Because within a family context, we use words, don't we? And sometimes we use them not quite in the right vein. We can be a bit derogatory, can't we? It happens. We all live in families like that. So we talk about unconscious bias. These are the words being bandied around. and how you can challenge these things by having an effective vision for the school that carries all of this. It's in the words that you're using. Then I talk about that, the racism parts and the blasphemy in schools document that we talked about last time here. And then I talk about the Lord Walney report that I've referenced today. And about self-censorship, because we self-censor ourselves an awful lot in meetings because we don't understand really what the words mean. We do it all of the time without realizing it. And then I reassure them and say, you are going to offend somebody because we're still learning. Children use incorrect, in inverted commas, words, don't they? They might get their maths wrong, but we don't make them feel daft. We help and support them. And then we tolerate, or do we tolerate? Now, this word tolerate has taken a lot of discussion in meetings. And many schools have said they do not like the word tolerate anymore after doing this. Because tolerate means to put up with. And they say, nobody needs to say, you know, people might say to me, oh, we tolerate you, Mary, because you're Welsh. Oh, I have that a lot. Which means they put up with me. And I don't want to be put up with. I want to be respected. So a lot of schools are actually thinking about this word tolerate quite a bit now in their vision. So I asked them, where do they think they are within their school? Are they respecting differences? So you can respect them, but are you accepting them? Do you then value them? And do you celebrate them? So then I go through each of those words and say what it means. And acceptance. And do they model acceptance? I will model acceptance. I will value differences. So we're using some positive words to help the children as well as the trustees and governors. And to, you know, deeply understand people's, you've got to look at other people's viewpoints and celebrate them. And ask, where are you now? What do you show in the way you are, in the way your school is? And then I go into the school environment, talk about those things, about SEND, the code of practice, SMSC, spiritual, moral, social, cultural, worldviews. What does that mean to people? People think it means world affairs. People think it means listening to the news. So we clarify that worldviews is looking at somebody's point of view of the world and engaging with it. And this is how one school changed the way they worked after I did a presentation on SMSC, spiritual, moral, social, cultural. This is what's changed. They talk about windows now, mirrors and doors. And they talk about opportunities for the children to be aware of the world, and they do this all now through religious education and PSHE as it's called, and mirrors. And it's a bit like our engage, reflect and so on. And the doors, opportunities for children to respond. And then we do a bit more about teaching and learning, what checks to make, and the conclusions. And then I say, be the reason someone feels welcomed, valued, seen, heard, valued, and loved. And it's gone well. And then we offer the bespoke training on contextualizing Islam, or contextualizing Judaism, or the workshops of the schools. We offer to discuss any of the aspects that they feel frightened about and explore them in greater detail. So, that is the presentation. I'm going to go back now to the next item on the agenda. You carry on.
Can I just... Thank you, Mary, for that. There's a lot to take in there for everybody, isn't there? Rather a lot, Mary. I just wonder, Mary, have you had any follow-ups from people that have already you've trained? Any follow-ups to say that it's working for them better than before?
Yes.
That's one question. The other one is, I'm sure we'd all like maybe to see these copies of these slides, please, if that's okay, because there's so much to take in on there. It'd be nice to sit down and have a good read ourselves, if possible, if that's okay with everybody? And then that was just my question on the follow-up, and others may have some questions for you, Mary, before we go on the next. Yeah.
Are we allowed to put it on the website, on the Sacre website? Yeah.
I don't see a reason. Why
Okay,
not, as long
so
as
we
it's-
could put it on the Sacre website because Joe's going to show us the Sacre website in a minute.
Okay.
And, pardon?
You haven't defamed anybody in it. I'm always wearing it lately. No, it's perfectly all right in my view.
That's the first time I've heard about the Sacre website. How do we access it? Oh, sorry.
Actually, I think it's the next item on the agenda. There was a pause there where Joe's got to sort of go back and come in on that one. So if you could just bear us with a few minutes, please. Thank you.
Just one comment.
Yes.
You know, I'm on all sorts of things, and the amount of times I have to do adult children's safeguarding courses, and there's all sorts of organisations out there doing it, and then they're going, and they're mistakenly thinking you can't transport them about in certain cases, and it's becoming an industry, and I'm just a bit wary of that. And then because of that, it becoming an industry, people miss the content of what we're trying to do.
Thank you for that, Philip, because that can happen, can't it? Yeah, it can. Mary?
Well, it just struck me, you know, being a farmer, would you believe there's something going on about the decolonisation of dairy farming, you know, and you think, what's that about, you know? And I understand what it's about, but somebody's been given 100 and something thousand pounds to write up a paper about it, and I think, I've got better things to do.
And this training is about common sense.
Yeah.
This training is about saying common sense is what you need. You've got to have the words, you've got to have the labels, but you've got to know what those labels mean. But at the end of the day, for children, you want the common sense viewpoint.
Well, I think, you know, as a patron of a church, and I declare an interest in that, we're appointing a new vicar, and I'm coming across the amount of paperwork that church wardens have to do. It's putting people off from volunteering. You know, they've got to have a handbook on what happens if the boiler breaks, what's your other this, that and the other. And you think somebody who's a volunteer, they just go, I'll come and arrange the flowers, but...
Yeah, I know this morning I spent 4 hours, because I'm a member of the PCC, doing safer recruitment training, basic awareness training, safeguarding training, filling in 16 forms, and realising that we missed a few in the past. But I think we still were okay.
I don't know, we managed in the past.
No. So the impact,
Yes.
schools are saying, as I said at the beginning, making explicit that which was implicit, not afraid to revisit their vision and see if some of these things need to be a little bit more explicit, and a pat on the back where RE is going well, that they're actually covering many of these aspects without having to make a massive song and dance about it. I know, Zoe, you've got your REQM, haven't you, evaluation coming up. And these are some of the things they look at. We almost call it the hidden curriculum. Is it there, but do they know it's there? And the fact that you know it's there, because this training helps schools. Now, loads of slides there, but it depends on the context of the school of which ones I might use. So I wouldn't use all of those. It would just depend, because I will be reviewing their website. I will be looking for the things that I think they've missed that little bit there. So that's where I say, do you know, we can enhance your school if you concentrated a little bit more on this or that, because otherwise it's overwhelming.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary. Have we got any further questions on this before we move on to the next item agenda? Everybody happy with that? Thank you. I think it's over to you now, I believe. Agenda item 10, website information. Okay? Report of the Director for Children and Families. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mary. I just wanted to share with members today, then, this is our new SACRE webpage. Following the meeting in February, it was obviously discussed that there was nothing available to date. And so here it is. It's obviously very much sort of a work in progress. It's being reviewed and it can be updated as often as it needs to be. So I'll run through the main tiles that we've got, and obviously any feedback, please do mention. So as well as the tiles at the front, there's access there on the right as well. So it's just really easy, hopefully, for everybody. I'll just get rid of these cookies. To access the information, explaining obviously what SACRE is all about and what we do. And that is pretty much it on that page. And you can obviously, again, go back either that way, there, or the back button. It's obviously on our main staffordshire.gov.uk website as well. And click through the education, or obviously you can search at the top and just type in SACRE. It'll come in that way as well. It also nicely links onto Entrust's website as well. So any changes that Entrust share, there's a link straight to their information here. So hopefully they link up nicely with sort of new information that's being shared with both. So that's obviously more information about teaching resources, and updated syllabus is on there. Obviously, it talks about the membership as well. And again, from here, we've got more links onto the committees. So people can have a look at what meetings we've had up to date and go into them further if they want to. Hopefully, we've got enough covered, obviously, of what needs to be shared, but like I say, if there's anything else, the final thing is annual reports. So obviously as they come through, we're updating them there at the bottom. It can just be opened, pretty straightforward, and viewed there. So like I say, it's only been sort of up and running for 2 months or so, but that's what we've got so far. I don't know if you've got any questions or any feedback on that. Thank you.
Has anyone got any questions? Yes.
So is this available for the general public to look at as well?
It is, yes. Yeah.
Anyone else got any? Did you have a further question?
I'll just say thank you, because the amount of times, even by my own union colleagues, I'm asked to explain what SACRE is all about. So I could just say, look on the website. All the information's there. Yes.
And I remind governors, trustees, head teachers, through the Governor Information Pack, I give them the links to this website and to the Entrust website with all the resources on that I'm building up over time. Because, you know, if I step away from this role, people will say, well, where are all the resources? Where have all they gone? So we're building up so that everybody has the opportunity to access the official SACRE aspects, and then the Entrust teaching resources and the agreed syllabus and so on.
Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted Mary to explain the bit about if I step away, because that just doesn't seem to make any sense to me.
I was actually about to say that's not going to happen. Sorry. Sorry, Mary.
I mean, it all depends, you know, on finances and everything like that. At the moment, it's 1 day a month, you know, I could go to no days a month. When I don't know what the future looks like. Capita is now in charge of all of those aspects as well. But I want, if I do step away from some of the aspects to do with, for instance, a governance professional, as I am, going all around the country teaching about governance, I want to still keep the RE definitely going. So I'm around for quite a while yet. You're all right.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Jo, for going through that and putting it on the website for us. Thank you indeed to both of you. Thank you. No questions on further questions on that then, ladies and gentlemen. We'll move on to agenda item 11, which is the SACRE budget 24-25. Mary, the report from the Director for Families. Thank you.
So you've got a screenshot of the SACRE budget at 24-25. If you look at it and you compare it to previous years, you might think, hey, my goodness, we've got a lot more money than we ever had. But within this money is the Cullum St Gabriel grant as well, which came to over £6,000. So we have quite a bit of money left to spend on workshops and on me building up the resources for the Entrust website as well, and to make sure that if a school needs a visit, that I can go and Sacre can support me on that. Now, the great thing about this is finally they have allowed me to contact SCC asking for purchase order numbers, because it used to be I had to contact Entrust and Entrust had to contact them. So we have now got a much simpler accounting system, which has only just started, really. But because of that, you can see how many workshops we've been able to facilitate without having to pay admin fees and all sorts. So the Sacre budget is jogging along quite nicely. We've got quite a bit of money left to spend, about £3,000-4,000, and we'll be doing that, as I said, working on the workshops, the Christianity ones as well at HIFSA, and also my visits to school as well. So I think we're really supporting our schools this definitely this year, absolutely.
Thank you, Mary, for that report. Anyone got any questions on the budget? Yes, please.
Can I just check, are all the workshops free?
Yes,
Yeah,
all free.
Thank you.
Any further questions? No? None? Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Mary, once again for that. Moving on to agenda item 12, Development Plan 24-25. Mary, over to you.
This development plan I've put together, hopefully with your blessing, having listened to what you talked about in February when we had our meeting, the things you wanted to change, the things you wanted enhancing. And today, hopefully new members, you've had a little bit more information about how it is we operate. In November, we'll have to update the safeguarding policy, because we've never had one except for this year, have we? But we've got one now, so we can update is much easier than write. Current philosophy on RE and collective worship, well, you will receive all of that information through my updates that we will have over the coming year. Support for the agreed syllabus, that's the workshops. And of course, they're free to schools, but the County Council's really paying, aren't they, through the Sacre website, through the Sacre budget. Supporting special schools with the delivery of RE, because RE in special schools is quite different from RE within the context of a community school or a church school. So I've been working with special schools on that, so that's well on the way. The Cullum Think Able grant, well, you can see we're working on that. And the understanding of equity, equality, we're working on that. Development of websites, so we're well on the way with this. And we should be, because we're few months in. Engagement with RE hubs, that's on page 37. That's where I attend meetings to do with the national picture, to do with religious education. And then schools, I say to them, look, if you want special speakers, go to this website and they will be able to facilitate you, but they may have to pay. And so I meet with the RE hub leaders, and I do that at conferences or through a termly meeting online. And then I'm able to update any resources, and they can go onto the Entrust website as a result. And then what we have to do is think about is self-evaluation of ourselves as a Sacre, how well we're doing. That's where I think we need to think about a few things. Are we a good Sacre? Do we need to improve? Do we celebrate enough of pupils' work in religious education? And I know the Vice Chair wanted me to run a special project where all the children did some artwork, but I don't have a school. I don't have a school hall. I have a tiny little office, and the thought of 500 pieces of artwork coming my way, which we all then have to say, you know, which is the best, and get the prizes, do presentations. I'm all for it, but I have to try and work out in my own mind what that looks like in practical terms when there is actually a national celebration of people's work. So perhaps it's just a case of guiding them towards having a school celebration, choosing the 5 best ones and putting it into the national one. So it's just a way of me, I need to think about that in a little bit more detail. And then I would like, perhaps, next year to invite a small group of pupils to talk to us about their RE experiences. Perhaps at the beginning of a meeting. You know, we've got a number of head teachers here, and somebody might just be able to stick 3 in a car. 3 children in a car, bring them along, and they get a drink of juice after, and they tell us about their experiences in religious education, especially after the workshops and so on. So we've got some plans to change things a little bit for the future, so it's not the same old. And that's it in a nutshell.
That sounds very promising, Mary, I think. Do members agree? Yes? There's a plan of action there, so that's good. And it sounds good that you'll be inviting perhaps younger people to come and talk about. I think there's nothing better than interacting with younger people, because their perspective of things is entirely different to what ours might be. Yes.
I was just going to ask perhaps if there's some capacity for us to explore some staff voice, given that it's been nearly an academic year since the new agreed syllabus has been launched, whether or not we are considering a midway evaluation of that, and if there's any tweaks necessary. I know it takes a long time to agree the syllabus, etc., but now everybody's taught that for a year, it would be useful perhaps to capture that with staff and children.
I was going to comment on, well, 2 things actually. The first, I think it's a brilliant idea to try and bring some of the children in at the beginning of the meeting. I sit on Keele University's Board of Trustees, and all of our meetings actually start with the student voice, and it really sets the tone for the rest of the meeting, which is wonderful. The other thing I was going to suggest was, and I don't know whether this is something that's been looked at before, but have we actually thought of having our Sacre meetings in school settings? And obviously, having been in schools, I realise that space is at a premium and not all schools would be able to accommodate it. But is that something that you think some of our schools might be willing to accommodate?
I don't know how difficult that is, because this is a recorded meeting for the public.
Yeah, it's recorded.
It's all recorded. This is live. Everybody can hear us.
Yes.
So that facility, therefore, would not be available if we went to a school. Yeah.
Yes, certainly.
So you're absolutely right, Mary. The other thing is, I was going to say, it's a public meeting. So if we went elsewhere, we would have to allow the public in. And school settings aren't always that keen to let the public come in, which is why we host it here. Because we did, I believe, before my time, host it elsewhere. But because we don't charge to have this committee meeting, obviously, we have the webcasting facilities. There will be additional charges if we were to move it into other settings, which does make it quite awkward. They're more than welcome to come. We webcast it. Yeah. So just so you're aware, every time you speak, there's a camera, and it points straight at you.
Yeah, but... Chair, when you press the button, I'm on. And the other thing is, if you have a meeting, as I found out when I was leader, if you have a meeting at Leek, or you have a meeting at Codsall, there's a distance for people to travel. So, you know, I've never forgotten a meeting at Leek, and Brian Edwards saying he'd had to travel about 50 miles to get to the meeting, because the county is a very big space.
Graphically, you've got a long way to travel wherever you go in this county. Yes, you have.
With regard to the evaluations, what normally happens is I ask Interest to send out a questionnaire to schools. We do questionnaires after the workshops, so we are getting a bit of a flavour of how, and there are questions for staff within that. But now, as you say, it's a year since we've done the agreed syllabus, so this is the year for, in the new e-bag, you know, that you have for September, there would be something for teachers to look at and to say how they feel about religious education. Now, we haven't done it for 2 years, with 3 years actually, because we had COVID and nobody was really doing an awful lot with anything, were they? And then we've had the new agreed syllabus, so it wasn't appropriate. So now this is where we get back into that cycle. But thank you, Zoe, that's a very good point.
Gabby, you should say something?
Yeah, just a quick question. So if somebody from a particular faith group, for example, wanted to join us for one session, would that be possible? Could they just come and listen in?
The question, would you like to ask it again, Gabby?
If somebody from a particular faith group wanted to come and join us for one session just to see what's going on, would that be possible?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's a public meeting, so they'll be more than welcome. They can take a seat there.
So would they contact you beforehand?
They wouldn't have to, no. It is literally open to the public, so they can come along if they want to. So we know they're coming, then they're more than welcome to. Joe's information is on the new website, so they can come along. If there's a space, it was something I was going to say earlier on. It's making a bit of a plea to the cameras, but if there's a space on our committee for a member from that faith, then we would be welcome them with open arms just to get our numbers back up. But yeah, if they want to come along and they just want to sit and they want to see what we do, they are more than welcome to come along.
Thank you.
And if you just let them know actually when it is, and they come to the reception and they say to the reception they wanted to be a member of the public at this meeting, they would allow them to come upstairs. No problem. Okay?
Thank you.
Which moves us on, unless there's any other questions on the plan. Everybody happy with the plan? Yes? Thank you. Which moves us on then to agenda item 13, which is applications for variation of practice, report of the director. Mary, it's over to you, please.
So this is where if the school writes to us to say that they want to disapply the requirement for broadly Christian collective worship, then they have to apply to us at Sacre. We've only ever had, in all the time I've been here, 2 applications. We haven't had any applications this year. Everybody's quite happy to carry on as they are. And as I say, no applications for variation. So that's that agenda item finished.
Thank you, Mary, for that. That was short and sweet. Any questions from anyone? No? No? Lovely. Well, we've got the date of the next meeting, which is the 13th of November 2024. Has everybody got that in their calendars or diaries?
Yes.
Yes, please. And I think then, Mary, unless you wish to say and wind up, over to you if you wish to wind up, Mary. No? You're happy?
I'll just say thank you very much for your contributions today.
Thank you very much indeed, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a safe journey home to wherever you're going to. And thank you for the staff, the officers here present this afternoon, behind the screen and in front of the screen. Thank you very much indeed, everybody. Thank you. And thank you, Mary, once again. Thank you. Thank you.